9.7 FM. It's 6:21 and you're tuned in to Home Affairs. My name is Enima Enimado. I'll be sitting in for you for Adam Knight Tay, who's your regular host. She can't be here this morning. So you get me instead. Good morning to you, Adam. Thank you for choosing us this morning. This is Joy 99.7 FM, and yes, this is Home Affairs. I hope that when you're done listening to us this morning, you'll start vimming yourself and getting ready to head over to the Lizzie Sports Complex for the Joy Sports Invitational. It will be absolutely fantastic. So I'll stay with you and you can shower and get ready. And then when we're done, maybe we could head over to Lizzie's. It's a date. I'll be there if you'll be there. Home Affairs is brought to you by Indomie. Tastes great. CB Men and Women capsules. Frytol, making life memorable. And Onga, Mama's helping hand. So this morning we'll be talking about childhood cancer, but we'll be talking about it in the context of turning your pain into purpose and turning your pain into power. And that's what I want to talk about this morning for my inspiration. And the thing is, sometimes life hits you in the most unexpected ways, and you seem to be headed in one direction, and then you're suddenly forced to change paths. And it is not easy to lose a loved one, to break up with someone you thought you were going to spend forever with, to lose your job, or to lose your home. And in those times, all we really want to do is hide and grieve and not face life. And to be honest, that's okay. You know, it's okay to feel that way, and it's okay to hide for a second, but just for a little while, because you must get up and face those fears and face that pain, knowing that the only way to the other side is through the darkness. And trusting that on the other side of all that pain is purpose far beyond what you can imagine. So don't lose hope, keep fighting, trust God and trust the process. Do what you can do and let God do what He will do. Because at the end of the day, faith is not believing that God can. Faith is knowing that God will. Once again, this is Home Affairs here on Joy 99.7 FM. It's 6:24. And we're going to be talking about childhood cancer and turning pain into power, pain into purpose. Before we start that conversation though, this is one of my favorite songs by Travis Green, and it's Made Away. Good morning and welcome to the show. I don't know why, but I'm grateful. And that's Made Away by Travis Green. If you're just tuning in, this is Joy 99.7 FM. And this is Home Affairs. It's 6:30, 1st September. And my name is Enimwa Enimado, sitting in for your regular host, Edem Knight Tay. In the studio with me this morning is Gloria Poamang. Now, Gloria is the mother of 14-year-old Nicole, who we lost to cancer. And this morning we're talking about childhood cancer. We're talking about turning your pain into purpose and turning your pain into power. Because to survive, we need our pain to be for a purpose, and we need our pain to make sense. So as much as this morning's conversation is going to be difficult, we're going to have it. We're going to have it for you, for all the parents out there whose children are sick, are struggling with all kinds of diseases. We're going to have this conversation for parents who are grieving, who have lost their children. We're going to have this conversation for the mothers and fathers who have turned this pain into power and are making an impact. And we're going to have this conversation for Nicole because we remember that you were here with us. And we thank you for the years that we had with you. You can join the conversation. The WhatsApp number is 0244340437. And the phone line is 0302-216-541. We'll open the phone lines around 7:15. But you can WhatsApp me from now. It's 0244340437. Share your experience with me. Share your stories with us. Tell us how you got through. Help us to dish out some hope this morning. It's 0244340437. Good morning, Gloria.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, so I wanted us to start off this conversation by talking about Nicole, just for a little bit. Do you want to just take me through your fondest memories from when you found out you were pregnant to, the first few years up until the point when you discovered that Nicole was sick?
Good morning to your listeners. Nicole was my first daughter. So having her was a lot of excitement. And having her brought a lot of purpose to us, my husband and I, because we were struggling. We just got married and we had her. But having her really did stabilize our relationship. And so, and she's been very close. We are just a close-knit family. She's been very close to us. And she was very smart. And she became a friend growing up. We just grew up with her like that.
So when did you discover that she was sick?
It started with pain in the thigh. She complained of pain in the thigh. And I thought that maybe it's a muscle stretch because she did a lot of running around and she was very active. So when it started, because I thought it was just a muscle stretch, I massaged it for her. But for about a week, she kept complaining of the pain at the same place. So I decided to check at the hospital. So when we went, we were told that it was an infection that will go after taking some antibiotics. So we did an X-ray, and then we were given drugs. We went home, were to return in 2 weeks. When we came back, we had another X-ray, and there was no improvement. So for about a month, we took antibiotic, and then we were referred to see a specialist. When we went, he increased the dosage of the antibiotic, saying that it was still an infection. So for about 3 months, we went back and forth, not knowing what exactly the problem was. So at a point, I felt that it was something more than an infection, because I was reading about bone infection and all that. And they said within a month, maximum was 6 weeks, it should clear if you're on antibiotic. And it did not. So I had a feeling there was something more. And so we were asking for referral to Korle Bu, but the doctor insisted that he could take care of it. So eventually we had to use my sister-in-law, who was working at Trust at that moment and knew a nurse at Korle Bu. His name is Shola. So we just went there on a day, I think it was a Wednesday or so, and we got there with our X-rays. And though they said it wasn't done, the nurse helped us by taking the X-ray to the doctors. And as soon as they saw the X-ray, it was immediate. They just said that we needed to talk. They said they wanted, I think there were about 4 or 5 of them. They were just from surgery. So we needed to talk. And we sat, and they said Nicole should be out. So the discussion was that the X-ray was not good. And they asked whether we were ready for treatment, meaning that immediately, even the diagnosis would take a lot of money. We needed to do a scan, MRI, and a list of things. So they asked if I was ready immediately to start. And I said yes. So I asked what it was, and they said they are not sure yet, but it seems it's a tumor. So that was how it started. But they said they wanted the biopsy to be sure whether it's cancerous or not. So immediately, though I was not having as much money, I had to call in family, my husband, and to support to get the things done. So we started from there. We had to run all those tests within a short while so that we get the biopsy done, because they said such cancers are very fast.
Aggressive.
They are aggressive cancers. So we needed to get it done immediately. So we tried to get it done immediately. And then the biopsy, with that, we didn't have much of, we were to have it immediately, but then with Korle Bu, it was meant to take about a month. And so they advised we also use the standard board. So we used their place. I think that one worked within 2 weeks. And so we took the results. And then we were told that Nicole had osteosarcoma, that is cancer of the bone. So the femur, that's the thigh bone, was affected. And they don't have, we don't have a PET scan in Ghana to know exactly how the whole thing has developed. So what can be done in Ghana is amputation. But then Dr. Badu and Dr. Bedu, we are very grateful to them, because they were very immediate when we were going through it. So that was when they told us that it would be good we sought treatment outside, because they have what you call limb salvage, where they will remove the bone but fix endoprosthetic, meaning that they will open up, remove the thigh bone, and fix something in, so they wouldn't have to amputate. So immediately we started the search. We tried South Africa and then India. we have a part of us in London, so we tried all those ones, but the Indian was immediate with response when it came to the males. So we decided to go to India. And that was where the journey started. It was quite tough. When we spoke to them, they said we could just have the limb salvage, that's the surgery, and come back home. So we were looking at just 3 months maximum. But when we got there, we were told we have to do chemo because the tumor was big, and then they needed to shrink it. So we had to do chemo to shrink the tumor before the surgery, and then do chemo after the surgery. So we're looking at 6 months. So 3 months to 6 months was another shock for us. So we went in, did the chemo. The chemo was quite rough.
Yeah.
Because with chemo, even grown-ups had issues. And Nicole was a child. So those were very challenging times. But God being so good, she went through the initial 3 chemotherapy sections. They came in, they normally have intervals of 21 days for you to recover. Because the chemo works like that, all the cells are just thrown
They are
into
targeted, yeah.
disarray.
All this,
whether
yeah,
good,
whether
or,
good
bad,
or bad, yeah.
they are all thrown into disarray. So it's like you are sick. The chemo makes you very sick. That's why most people run away after their initial chemos. They think that the chemo rather made them sick. So we went through the 3 sections, and then we had the surgery to remove the
tumor.
And then the thigh bone, and it was replaced with endoprosthetic. Unfortunately, the surgery was not successful. So we had to go over the surgery again because there was a shift in the fixing. They attached it to the bone that was already there. So there was a shift. So that gave her a lot of pain. So we were asked to redo.
So they removed the tumor successfully, but then the fixing of the endoprosthetic, that was where the problem was. Okay.
So the removal of tumor is done in such a way that it's like they have to take out the thigh bone, the femur, the entirety of it. So what they fixed there was the one that shifted.
Okay.
So it meant that we had to redo the surgery, and within a week we had to do the 2. Because they wanted to start physio, and then this happened. So we did that, and then after we did we were supposed to continue with chemo, but they came back and said we have to do radiation.
Okay.
So we did the radiation, and then we did chemo. So eventually it was about 8 months instead of the 3 months we envisaged. So after the 8 months, we came recovering. Unfortunately, within our first, X-ray, we were supposed to do 3 months check. Our first X-ray, we found a lump in the lungs, and that over here they said it's a bit sensitive. The area is a bit sensitive, so we still had to send the results back to India, and then we were called back, so we had to go again. And then they removed the lung noodle. It was removed, and then we came again. She continued with her school. Though she was out of school for that long, she was able to catch up. So she finished JHS, and then she was successful. And then she went to Akosombo International.
Mm-hmm.
So I was supposed to visit her, I think, when they went to school. That was in February.
Can I just interrupt to ask
please.
you, going through all of this, the chemo, the radiation, the second surgery, removing the nodes from the lungs, how did you feel then sending her off to school?
Well, when I came from India, all I wanted was to stay home with her because I felt that she was not ready to go to school. Because the hair, hair loss from chemo.
Chemo,
She
yeah.
had nothing on the head. It was just shining. And she said no, she will go. She insisted she will go. Even when we came, we thought that she would rest a bit, maybe a month, but she said no, she will go to school.
She wanted to live,
So,
do it.
Yes. So Nicole was a very strong person. When I was broken, well, she kept teasing me that, "Mommy, are you the one who is sick?" She would say that, and then we'll all laugh and we'll move on. She was a very strong person. So she went to school. And then she made us proud by coming out with flying colors, despite the over a year out. So the second time we went, it was also for another 6 months because we had to do chemo after the surgery. With cancer, it's difficult for the family. The entire family was actually broken. It's difficult, and then the finances as well.
Yeah.
That makes it more difficult. I always say that it's devastating to have the cancer, and it's worse if you don't have money to treat. So, and we came back. She finished the exams and went to school, only for us to go for a visit, and she was having pain in the chest. So we came home. I came home with her, went to the hospital, and they said it was fluid in the lungs. We did the X-ray and all that, and then they said they would drain the fluid. So when they were draining the fluid, it was not coming. So they said we have to do other tests, only for them to realize that it wasn't just fluid, but another tumor had taken over one part of the lung. And that was when we were told that she would not survive this. But I still believed that she would go through, knowing her and how she fought. But then it didn't happen, and then she passed. When we came back from India initially, she wanted us to have the foundation to help people who need it, because there are a couple of times we met people at Korle Bu, and they just needed to do the biopsy. There was one particular boy we met. He had swollen neck, and then was with an elderly woman, I guess would be the grandma. They needed only 50 cedis for them to proceed with the biopsy. I think they were on NHIS, yet they needed that. And they were not having. So they were going home. And she said, "Mommy, can't we support?" So when we came back, she was looking at doing that kind of support for people. That was how come we did. We came up with the Weswamo Child Cancer Foundation. Weswamo is her middle name.
Yeah.
So that was the name that we gave to the foundation. And then she started working. Mostly, when we put up the number of the foundation, mostly people just needed to know what to even do.
Yeah.
Because some people have no idea what cancer is. For me, I knew there was cancer, but I didn't know about osteosarcoma. I had heard about leukemia, and the situation is such that when you tell anybody this is what she's having, they just tell you, "Oh, I had an auntie, a cousin who died of it." So there was no positive story.
Outcome from. I want to ask you, what were, if it's not too painful for you to talk about, what were her last days like? What was it like saying goodnight to her every night and knowing that that time was limited?
There was actually no good night because she couldn't really sleep well.
Okay.
So we were and she didn't want to be left alone
Yeah.
because she had issues breathing. So she was, once in a while she needed oxygen.
Mm.
So I was more of a nurse as well. Our doctor was Dr. Salifu. We could call her. We are grateful to her. We could call her at midnight, at 4 a.m. anytime, and she was on for us. And Nicole will insist she wants to talk to her. So that was how it was. We virtually every 2-3 hours she would be in pain, so we needed to give her drugs, and she couldn't eat. Anything she took in will come out.
Mm.
And we wanted to have palliative care, that's to subdue
The pain
cancer and
management.
then the pain.
Mm.
But when we started, we took about I think tablets of chemo, but the reaction was bad. She rather felt quite sick, so we had to stop. And so we were just on oxygen, off oxygen. She couldn't do a lot of movement, so we were just stuck at home. And the struggle was it was quite difficult because she has siblings.
Yeah.
And they went to school. When they come back, they want to make her happy. The moment she laughs, then we all cry because the cough comes up, and the cough was so terrible. So instead of they trying to make her happy, it just turns out the other way.
The other way.
So they just come and we all lie in the bed with her.
How have you survived this?
I think the family support is very important when it comes to those things. I've not survived. I wouldn't say I've survived yet.
Oh, you're
But we are in the
surviving.
we
You're
are in the
surviving,
process.
yeah.
As I said earlier, our family is quite close.
Mm.
So we depended on each other. My husband and the kids, Nicole's uncles and aunties, who were close. So everybody at a point will step in. So there was no time for you to actually brood. Even when she was in bed, people came every now and then to see her, though I didn't allow them to come in. But the support was great, and that was what is pulling us through.
I ask this because we know that sometimes this kind of loss actually pulls families apart. It puts a tremendous strain on marriages, and even, with the other siblings.
Yes.
So what has that been like? How are they doing? How are they coping?
I think the first few days after her, well, we all didn't expect it. It was so sudden. So the first few weeks was bad because they refused to eat. So, like you see, everything was quite slow for us. But again, the hugs from each other, we kept talking to them, the kids. And then we also needed the support. So we had family, we had friends who kept coming in and out just to encourage us to pull through. And then I realized that there was a lot of strength too from the foundation, because there were people who I don't know of, and then they call and then they tell their stories, how they lost or how they went through their grieving with their kids and all that. So that was what kept us going. Family support.
I want to ask you something which would be on the mind of everyone. I put myself in your shoes, and I can't imagine the pain, because when you have children, I remember when I had my first child, I realized that when you have a child, it's like your heart is taken out of your body and it's on this human being that's walking out there,
Yes, that's the feeling. When she was growing up, even when she has malaria, I used to cry with injection with her and all that. So when they said she had cancer, I thought that was the end for me. But that was she was the one that gave me the strength.
The strength.
Yes, because she. When you look at her, there was no way you were going to be down. Because throughout the treatment, she was smiling. So, I could not cry in front of her. I had to be strong for her. So that was how we went through.
Okay. We've been talking to Gloria. Gloria is the mother of 14-year-old Nicole, who we lost to cancer. And we're trying to really just talk about this and find some power, some purpose in this pain. We'll be talking about the West Soamo Child Cancer Foundation because we want to make people aware of what cancer is, of the treatments available, but most importantly to support, because sometimes it makes all the difference just doing that. We'll also have Gloria's husband join us in a little bit. Before we do all of that, though, I'm going to the phone lines to speak to our doctor, your doctor, actually, to give us some information about osteosarcoma. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
How are you this morning, Doctor? We're speaking to Dr. Osafo.
Yes.
Good morning, Doctor. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well, thank you. So this morning we're talking about osteosarcoma, but also childhood cancer in general.
Right.
Yes. So how common is childhood cancer in Ghana?
Listen, my condolences to you. As a physician, anytime you hear about a death, especially in a child, it breaks your heart. Most of the time, we are not aware of the frequency and the incidence with which childhood cancers occur. We tend to look at children with a very different perspective. They're supposed to be healthy, they're growing. We expect them to be okay. But the reality is that the various medical conditions that affect adults can also affect children. But sometimes we as health professionals also miss it, and the diagnosis is difficult because we are sometimes caught in the same web of not thinking about it as we should. Childhood cancers are relatively, common globally. The statistics show that it is quite common. Some countries have developed to the point where they have what we call cancer registries, where every incidence, every case of cancer is logged. So it is much easier to put out those statistics. But in Ghana, our registry is still being developed nationally. But I think the two main centers, individual centers that treat cancer, that's the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and the Komfanoche Teaching Hospital, they have their individual registries. But osteosarcoma, which is what the guest in the studio was talking about, is a bone cancer. And we believe that globally it constitutes about 3% of all childhood cancers. But before we go into that bone cancer, I would just like to give you a list of the common childhood cancers.
Okay, sure.
You've got top of the list what we call the leukemia or leukemias. This is a form of cancer that affects the bone marrow and then also some of your blood cells. So most people would have heard about leukemia. There are different types of which, but the common types are what we call the ALL and then AML. I won't go into much details, but leukemia sits at the top. Then you also have brain and spinal cord tumors. We also have something we call a neuroblastoma. The neuroblastoma would affect the nerve cells right when you are in your mother's womb as an embryo. So usually we'll see it in infants around 1 year, 2 years. Rarely do we see it in children about 10 years. Then you also have something we call a Wills tumor. This is a tumor of the kidneys. It can affect one or both kidneys. So you can have that kidney tumor as well. Then we have something we call the lymphoma, which also affects what we call the lymph nodes. These are small, hard or firm structures that you find sometimes in your armpits or sometimes in your groin when you have an infection on your big toe or something. But you can have cancers that are affected. They produce white blood cells largely. Then you also have something we call rhabdomyosarcoma, big word, but it's a tumor that will affect most of the time the muscles and then what we call the connective tissue. Then last but not the least, but we have what we call a retinoblastoma. This is a tumor that affects the eye or cancers of the eye. Then there are the bone cancers, the osteosarcoma. Osteosarcoma is most common in teens, teenagers. I'm not quite sure how old the child or the guest in the studio was when she developed the tumor. But you usually see osteosarcoma, which is a form of bone tumor or bone cancer. We usually see it in teens. And it usually grows in areas of the bone where the bone is growing quickly. So we have what we call the long bones, the bones in your thigh, the bones in your upper limbs, and it's usually found at the ends of these bones. So that is why sometimes there is a need for an amputation and all of that. And it often causes bone pain. I remember our guest mentioning that the pain, it started as pain, and she felt that the child had injured herself while playing, and it was not until the x-rays were done that was when it came to attention. So it would often present as pain, and the pain usually will get worse at night or with activity. Then there can also be swelling around the bone. But anymore, there's another type of bone cancer, which we call an Ewing sarcoma, which is less common, but it can also cause bone pain and then swelling, which is also found in young teens. So cancers that start in the bones, which we call the primary bone cancer, because sometimes you can have cancer that starts somewhere else that moves to the bone.
Okay.
That one is a metastatic cancer. It started somewhere, there's a primary source somewhere, and then it moves to the bone. But an osteosarcoma is an example of a primary bone cancer.
Okay. Doc, can you just run us really quickly through the early symptoms of cancer? Because early detection is key.
Right. So most of the time, there are not specific symptoms, to say, oh, okay, if I'm seeing this, then it means I have a cancer. So what we're going to talk about are general things that may go for other things as well until it is maybe quite late. So for most cancers, it will present with pain, especially in the children, like an osteosarcoma. It starts with pain. So we shouldn't trivialize pain unless there's a history of trauma. There's an overt history of trauma that, oh, okay, I ran, I fell, and you have a swelling in that area. Then we may think that, okay, maybe it's because of the trauma. Children also run around, so sometimes it's very difficult to make up your mind whether or not, this was a traumatic or pain that was occasioned by trauma. So we should take pain seriously. If you give paracetamol and you give some ibuprofen and the pain still persists, then you should think. I mean, we don't want to frighten patients into thinking, hey, every pain that my child has, it could be cancerous. But sometimes in this particular situation, it was pain that set it off. Fever is also another thing that I want most parents to also look out for. That your child is having a fever all the time. Of course, we live in Ghana. Malaria is the commonest reason why most people would come down with a fever. A sore throat can give you a fever. So it is not straightforward. But if you have a fever, you've been to the hospital, and it is not resolving, then you may want to, encourage your healthcare professional to start thinking about it or thinking broadly beyond the obvious. Weight loss or poor weight gain, especially in children, we expect them to be developing, to be growing. So if your child is not gaining the necessary weight or the requisite weight as they grow, then you begin to show a bit of concern. Again, if they've already gained weight and they are losing that weight, then it should be of concern. So you don't necessarily need to have a scale, but you dress up your child, you know that, oh, these clothes used to be fitting, but these days they tend to get loose, on my child. Or if it is within the age where we are still going to the postnatal clinic or the child welfare clinic. Anymore, interestingly, that thing we call the weighing card, after we have the children come along, they go to the child welfare clinic, we give them their immunizations. If you look through that particular card, the attendance ends at age 5. But for most parents, and I'm guilty when I became a parent.
I'm guilty too. I haven't weighed my children.
We stop after we take our last shot, which is somewhere around 18 months now, and we don't go again. But one of the most important things is that we track the weight gain. There's a weight chart in that particular book all the way to about 5 years. And it is important because sometimes that might be the only way or we diagnose that something untoward is happening early on as the weight loss. Poor appetite is also another indicator. Again, very, very difficult to tell. Feeding children is very, very problematic, especially when you start introducing complementary feeding. And these days, because of all the sugar that is in a lot of the food that we give them, the moment you start giving the impoto and the quote-unquote normal food, most children find, or most mothers or parents find it difficult. The child will not take up the food. But if you realize that your child was eating well, and then all of a sudden there's a loss of appetite, anorexia, they don't want to eat anymore, then again that may be a sign that something is happening. As we bath our children all the time or dress them up, it will be a good idea for us to notice any bumps that appear on their body. The bone cancers, for example, sometimes will present with a swelling. And therefore, if you find a swelling, then it may be an indication, that something untoward is happening. Yeah. You need to pay attention. Sometimes these lymph nodes that I talked about, which we find in the armpit, the neck, the groin, again, these are little bumps that you may find. So sometimes we are very busy, so we leave the bathing of the children to either house helps or to other people. Yeah. But as parents, we can start doing these things every now and then, ourselves, so that you can pick up some of these things.
So I guess it will be a fine line between being very observant and not overreacting to every single scratch and mosquito bite on our children. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. For joining us this morning. We're very grateful for your time, and have a wonderful weekend.
My pleasure, Nima.
Okay, thank you. This is Home Affairs. You're tuned in to Joy 99.7 FM. It's 8 minutes past 7. We're going to take some messages. When we come back, I want to ask Gloria about her faith in God and how much that has played a role in surviving this, and also have a bigger conversation about Wesoamo and what we can do to support other families that are going through this kind of thing. The phone lines will be open as well. It's 0302-216 541. I'll be reading your WhatsApp messages, 0244340437. And thank you to all of you who have contributed on WhatsApp already. We'll take these messages and then we'll be right back.
To everybody who believes there's no dream you can't achieve, you can have it when you want, and then sing the song. I love my life this way. Indomie. Love it your way. Yes, go on and love it your way. Indomie, love it your way. Yes, I love my life this way. You are the master of your faith. With your heart and your mind full of grace. There's no mountain you can't climb when
instant noodles. Taste great.
As a busy mother, I never seem to have enough hands. But when I'm cooking, I have an extra helping hand. New Onga seasoning powder. Onga adds more taste and aroma to my stews and soups.
Onga.
And it's available in 4 delicious flavors: stew, shrimp, chicken, and classic. And because Onga is the strongest stew whole stock cubes, I only add what I need. It's so convenient.
It tastes great, Mama.
Onga, Mama's helping hand.
Kwesi, put the chicken in the pan. Slowly.
Everyone told me cooking was for girls. My friends laughed, but my mom encouraged me. I watched her chop, slice, scoop, and stir.
Kwesi, use only the best ingredients. Have passion for details. Hold the Frytol bottle from the middle. Now pour.
Making delicious meals was so effortless for her. I always wanted to be a cook like her.
Chef Kwesi, order for 2 braised chicken with a side of fries.
Coming up. Every time I pick up a bottle of Frytol, I remember my mother and all that she taught me. Whenever she comes to eat at my restaurant, she smiles and says,
I'm proud of you.
As for the friends who laughed at me, they eat here all the time.
Frytol, making life memorable.
Lost touch with my soul.
Joy 99.7 FM.
I had nowhere to go. Lost sight of my dream.
Lane, Kings Walk, Okanshi Hallows, Okanshi, Tribe of Judah Herbal, Echoes Pharmacy, and Gabson Pharmacy. You can also call them on 0247 111 671, 024 657 8750, 024 961 0049 for Pamang family, and it's been a blessing to know Nicole as well. May the good God bless you and renew your strength. Sorry, that's from Sabina from Tema. Def Traco. Albert says, good morning to you and Madam Gloria. I'm so sorry for your loss. I went through a similar situation with my mom for about 2 years, and I can attest to it. It's devastating. Through all the treatments, we lost her, and the pain was so great. Till now, tears still drop from my eyes, even as I listen to you. Gloria, may God strengthen you. My mother, due to breast cancer, she went through unbearable pain, and all my money got finished before she died. It is my prayer that God will strengthen my sister and put her back together. Good morning, I'm Frank and Tema, and I'm very sad this morning after hearing this. Please, how can I contribute to the foundation? We'll be giving you all those details before we sign off on the show, how you can be part of the foundation. Makospi says, your guest is making me weep this morning. I drove a cancer patient for nearly a year. I technically quit my job to help her out. If you do have emotions like I do, you will weep when you get to the chemotherapy and radiotherapy units in Kolebu. Every time I go there, I pray to God to bless me with the medication to cure this disease. A cancer treatment pill costs about 18 Ghana cedis, and the patient is to take about 4 a day for 21 days. I saw a mother's child eye coming out from his skull due to cancer. Gosh, I'm broken now. I wish your guest well. Gloria, and welcome to the show. Gloria's husband has joined us as well, Mr. Pamang. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So the thing for me is, how did this whole experience affect your faith in God, and where are you with God now?
I would say the experience actually brought us much more closer to God than before. When it started and when it got worse, it was there we all believed that it's only God who could deliver us from the kind of ailment that has befallen Nicole, especially when she recovered and returned from India. It was all joy. I mean, had to sing praises to the Almighty God for what He had done in our lives. And even after taking her, we are still grateful that He gave it to us. We had good time with her for almost 14 years. And we can only say thank you to God for what you've done for us. And it's still the same God that is keeping the family together. Because in other cases, the families would have been torn apart.
Yes,
but
definitely.
We are still together, so we are grateful to God.
How many other children do you have?
We have 3.
Wow. That's amazing, and I'm sure that they soothe somehow. You know, when you look at them, you know what you're living for, and they must give you some sort of purpose and some joy.
Yes, it was devastating for all of us, including the children, because Nicole was like their mentor. She was the leader. She did everything for them. She was the one they look up to. And so when she wasn't available, she was no more. It was really difficult for all of them. But I guess gradually they're
pulling through. So Gloria, I'm going to come back to you now to talk about the foundation. So before we get into the technicality of the foundation, what apart from the memory of Nicole, what drives the foundation, and what does having the foundation mean to you?
I think at this point it means everything to us as a family. Nicole started the foundation when we came back, as I said earlier on, and at the moment, that is what is keeping us together, knowing that it's a legacy she has left for us to be with. With her, the foundation, with the foundation, she had three main objectives. That's access. When it comes to access, the awareness creation is part, because a lot of people don't know about childhood cancers. So she wanted us to create awareness about childhood cancers, which we are doing currently. September is the month of childhood cancer awareness. And then it's not on the National Health Insurance. So we're also looking at advocacy for it to be put on the insurance. And then with palliative care, getting to the end for us was very difficult. That is one thing that we would very much like to touch on. There is nothing like hospice care in Ghana. In our case, you go to a hospital and they can't take her because they tell you that there's nothing like that, because Kolebu said they couldn't do anything. We had to take her home. And home with her too was very difficult for us. So we wanted just a place where she will have a nurse, and then they will take care of her whilst we are also with her. But there's nothing
because
like
there are a
that.
lot of technical
Exactly,
aspects to
like
taking
the
care.
oxygen and
Yes,
all those
yeah.
ones. We needed help with nursing, but there's nothing like that. So we are also looking at palliative care, how best that could improve. And then we are also looking at helping with treatment. Those who have it and cannot afford the treatment. I think somebody sent a message concerning how expensive the treatment is.
Yes. So these are the three
mainly.
different. How has it been so far? How are you finding that people are engaging with you?
So far, it's been good. The response has been great, especially when it comes to raising funds. Though we've not had any major events
yet,
we've been able to raise 42,000 cedis from friends and our Facebook page.
Okay.
So we are actually looking at launching her book.
Okay.
She actually wrote her experience. She wanted to launch it in summer before. It couldn't happen because we lost her. So we'll do that on 24th of November.
Okay.
Which is her birthday.
Okay.
So we'll do that in her memory to raise funds for the foundation.
What's the title of the book?
Not yet. We've not
decided on the title yet.
We just it's currently as Nicole's experience, but we'll come up with
a title for, and that's on the 24th of November.
Yes. I would like people to know and then look forward to it.
Okay, so all this information will be on your Facebook page. How can people read up more about it or donate or get involved with the foundation?
With the donation, we have a mobile money account number, which is 055 594 5515.
Okay, say that again, please.
055 594 5515. So you can reach us on that, and then you can also donate. It's Weswamo Child Cancer Foundation.
Okay.
And then we also have an Access Bank account number, Spinters Branch. I don't know if I can read out.
Yes, definitely. Go on.
Okay, so it's 034 022 364 9941.
Please say it again.
034 022 364 9941. Weswamo Child Cancer Foundation, Spinters Branch.
Okay. So primarily, if you want more information on Weswamo, the easiest way is to go to your Facebook page.
Yes, and then you can reach us on the number we just gave.
Yes, and then or call the number. Yes. Get involved, so that we can help out somebody who doesn't have as much support around around them. So Wesoamo is spelled WESOAMO. Yes, that's WESOAMO, and it means God loves me, which was also Nicole's middle name. It's a beautiful name. Thank you so much.
We are hoping to raise 10,000 by the end of the year. The 10,000 pounds by the end of the year. And then in 5 years, 50,000. We want to create a fund purposely for that. So that anybody can access. It shouldn't be difficult because the treatment is expensive.
Yes.
So that's our target.
That's your target. I pray that God multiplies it above and beyond what you can imagine. So just your final thoughts. What, for each of you, what are the two most important lessons, or what are the things that you've really learned from this whole experience?
I would say it actually opened my eyes to realize, because growing up, some of us had a feeling or the view that cancer was just for the elites and the rich. But our experience and what you've seen at Kolibu tells us that all of us are at risk. And also we should appreciate that it's one of the sicknesses in the world. It's not the result of witchcraft or somebody's cause or any other thing. Because unfortunately in our part of the world, that is sometimes the issue, where people would come and tell you that it's maybe some innocent old lady somewhere who's
doing,
and that is some of the things that actually tear families apart.
That's true. That's true. Gloria?
I think Nicole lived a very good life, and though we've lost her, we are using that as our drive to push through, and we are very grateful, especially to those who have supported us so far, our priests, our family, our friends, all of them. We are very grateful to them. Childhood cancers are real. They are real. It's not only for the elites. And I think that if you are listening now, you should also tell others about it. It's real.
Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Poamang. I know that this morning couldn't have been easy for you, but we're very grateful for sharing your story with us. We apologize that we couldn't pick your calls, but I really wanted to get to the heart of this matter. And for everybody out there who's struggling, we hope that we've inspired you this morning, that you can turn your pain into purpose, into power. You can help other people, and as much as it may not soothe the pain or fill the void, at least you know that your loss counts for something. I'm signing off today with a song by Israel Houghton and New Breed, and it says, "If not for your mercy and not for your love, I most likely would have given up, but by your grace, I am still standing." Thank you to the team, tech and social media. Thank you to Asarbia for producing me this morning. I'm grateful. My name is Enima Enimado. I've been your host this morning. I'll be with you for the next 2 weeks, actually. I'm sitting in for Edem Naite. Thank you to Food 101 for our breakfast this morning. And most importantly, thank you to all of you for listening and for staying with us. This is Joy 99.7 FM, and this is Israel and New Breed with I'm Still Standing.